Okay, that was Chainsaw Man, Season 1, Episode 7. That was a roller coaster, man.
That was a episode surprise. That was a surprise episode. There were things in that episode were a surprise.
Yes.
The best way to put it. There were things that I did not ever see coming.
This has got to be one of the most unique anime or stories that I've seen 7 episodes in. They are doing so much to differentiate themselves from the norm that I am used to, at least, and I love it. I think it's making it so this show has a very special place in my heart. Like, it's like kind of growing in its own little like subsection I didn't know that was there before.
This is the most mature that I've seen of a show in a similar genre to this.
Yes.
I think I appreciate feeling like it's meant for me and like my age or maturity level or appropriate, for maybe an older audience and funnier maybe to an older audience. There's some things I feel a little weird about after this episode though.
But breaking the fourth wall a little bit, like, I talk to you all the time about how personally it's so hard to find a story that has like the hype and action of a regular anime that I would watch, or like, things that would fall into this type of genre. But it just doesn't go to the mature level. It doesn't have enough like actual blood or gore or even nudity in the sense, or mature different types of interactions, like whether they regard to like sexual interactions or not. And this is probably one of the first times I've ever experienced it. Granted, I'm very sheltered when it comes to anime.
You have been looking for something that felt more mature.
Yeah.
But was still the same fun, still the same action, characters to root for and get behind. But, maybe a little more gory, a little more gruesome.
A little more unpredictable.
A little more unpredictable.
Yeah. And I'm falling head over heels for it. I love it. And because like it's so interesting because there was fights for about, I'd say like 4 minutes all in all, like together. Yet this is one of my favorite episodes. Like just about how many turns it took, what routes we went down, and like what ended up happening. I also love the style of it and the comedy. It was great.
I don't really know what the definition of fan service is, actually. But when I think of that term, I think of characters that have no business being scantily clad, and maybe are too young to be dressed as provocatively as they are. Or it's cold out, why are you in a bikini? I think of maybe that as fan service, and I think of this more as, it just feels more just like real. Like, these are women,
such a fucking good
and
point.
They're sensual, and they're maybe realistic. The only issue I have is if Denji is in fact a teenager and he does not know exactly how old he is. Fair point, he does not know how old he is. He could be 16, and that is the only place that they get me a little bit like, ooh.
I think the idea of what the definition of fan service is really interesting, because I don't have the definition in front of me, but this feels so much different than fan service, because
of what I think of when I hear that word, which I don't know the real definition.
In my mind, when I think of fan service, I think of like unnecessary nudity or unnecessary focus on nudity. But there's like literal narrative purpose for why I know how Denji thinks when Himeno's boob touches up against him. I'm like, oh my god, I know exactly how he's feeling right now.
Also, the bras aren't like lacy or too small. They look like, like, I don't know. There's just something about it that just feels more realistic to like, this is a real person.
But it's refreshing, right?
And if they had just came home from work and, they're not in like lacy, tiny, okay. Obviously, I am not accustomed to talking about these sort of things on the channel.
It's different.
It's different, and so if we seem nervous, that is why we don't normally.
It's more of a realistic approach to more revealing things rather than making it more revealing and then putting the main focus on that, because that's what they choose to
Right,
do.
like, I just feel like Himeno seems like maybe mid-20-year-old, normal, sensual, especially when drunk person. And apparently she's kissed everyone in there, you know,
Yeah.
especially when she's drunk. She's really friendly. And I also feel like a lot of this specific interaction might be connected to her emotional state, which I believe is actually very fragile.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
she definitely puts on. And
I agree.
deep down, she is heartbroken that all of these really good people, these serious, dedicated, smart people get annihilated in this job.
Yeah.
And she is terrified that this is going to happen to another person that she is getting attached to, that she wants to protect. And so obviously her attention is going to be toward Denji, because now she sees Denji as someone who could save Aki's life.
Yeah. I would love to talk to you about the Aki relationship with Himeno. Like, I think that I'd like to know your take on Himeno's feelings about Aki, and if it's a sense of family or if it's a sense of romanticism.
Okay, yeah, I'm torn between those two. I'm glad you said that, because she purposefully attaches Denji and Aki having a crush on Makima as her being like, oh, why do you both, you know? You're both into Makima.
Well, do you think that she was trying to be like, to put herself as the better option in saying that to Denji? Because I don't know if she was even. I think, like, she was just kind of saying it. Like,
right, it could, I mean, she's also drunk.
Yeah.
So.
Facts.
She could be saying things or emotional about things that are subconscious.
Yeah.
That if she was sober, she might not even be aware that she thinks or feels.
Yeah.
Or she could just be saying things that she's noticing and it doesn't actually truly mean anything to her. I mean, it could be more just a jealousy over Makima and not a jealousy over I wanted either of these two guys to like me.
Yeah.
It could be why does everyone like her and not me, and it's not specific.
I mean, it could just be a general distaste towards Makima because she works for the public safety and that's the place that she wanted to get Aki out of. Leave.
And yeah, we learned in this episode that Himeno would have left if Aki had agreed to go with her.
Crazy.
And she also, I think, doesn't understand, which I think we learned in this episode, especially why she doesn't understand the reason either of these two characters would like Makima so much. Because we learned that this is the first time some of those people have even seen her in real life.
That was a big shock to me. But I like, with everything language-wise we have been given, it all makes sense now. With, like, however Aki has talked about her and how there always seemed like Aki's been in a position of leadership and power. So to fit that in with their lack of interaction with Makima makes a lot of sense to me. You know?
It makes me wonder why Aki has been given this relationship. He drives her around. We've seen him have multiple meetings with her directly, like the two of them. It makes me wonder why he gets possible special treatment from her compared to the other employees that all lead their own divisions. Like, this was a dinner with people that some of them even have a fiend in their division, but she's meeting with him directly.
It could go hand in hand with strength. I mean, think about everything she's already done for Denji that she hasn't done for Aki, like in a physical sense, you know? Like, Aki seemed pretty surprised when Denji first brought up the idea of any physical interaction with Makima.
But I feel like he's also using it to his advantage, that he knows that Makima has a special interest in Denji. He's using it to get questions he wants answered. He's using it to have her be around more.
Yeah.
I think if you have a crush on someone and you like them and you want to be around them, then you'd probably take an opportunity to be around them, even if it meant that they were interested in being around someone else with
perhaps.
You might take that, especially if you wanted to prove yourself to them. But it seems more like he is treating it job-wise.
Well, yeah, I think...
And not romantically important to him.
I think that it's really interesting to, like, Aki's very curious as to what Denji's deal is. And the curiosity
Rightfully so. I said rightfully so.
Yeah. And I think the curiosity itself says a lot about, like, Aki as a character. But what is it? Like, what's the deal? Was Pochita part gun devil? Did Pochita have a piece of the gun devil? Was that why Pochita was injured? Like, and that has enhanced Denji? Is it because Denji is the first person who has ever existed like him? And that's like a mass feeling that all these devils have gotten.
Would he inherently be a threat to other devils if he exists in this way?
Maybe.
I mean, this goes against... You could always see it as... like a Romeo and Juliet situation. Like, it's going to make the devils unhappy, and it's going to make the humans unhappy.
Yeah.
That something like Denji exists. Like, that's a possibility. Because if you think about a fiend, like a true fiend, they took over a corpse. They didn't give their power over to the corpse. They took over a corpse. And that is different.
I can't tell, like, okay, so... we have, obviously, the way of fiends, like you just said. We have the contracts, and contracts are incredibly important and serious, and if you're a devil or a human, and you go back on your contract, you could die. Mm-hmm. You know, there's this give and take. But with Pochita, it kind of was a give and take in the sense that Pochita gave its life for Denji. A dream. But would you say that it was a contract, though, or something deeper? Like, it was, like, another level of love and giving with nothing expected in return.
So, if you break it down and you're like, you fail out of contract, you die. Mm-hmm. Pochita gave Pochita's heart, basically, to Denji. And that keeps him alive. So, is that the difference? That Pochita gave the heart in order to see Denji live and fulfill his dreams. Yeah. So... Pochita's not gonna take away that if Denji doesn't get to his dreams. It's not a contract. It's a, you make me proud, goodbye. Yeah. Like, love. It's a love letter.
It's a gift.
It's a gift. It's a love letter. It's not a contract because Denji really didn't have to give anything. If anything, Denji lost something while gaining something.
Or, in a joking way, it is a contract and perma-locks Denji into the narrative position of being able to always win every fight because he is legally life obligated to a devil that he needs to survive long enough to live out this best life. Like, he can't die until then. Like, I don't know, but it's obviously different, right? We've been told that from the beginning.
But no one, even in the universe, understands how different it is except for Makima. Like, he's sitting at that table, and all of those people still think he must have a contract.
Yeah. And there is a very, very, very real situation where Denji is not at all connected to the Gun Devil, and they're just interested in him because of the potential of strength and how this hasn't happened before, you know? Right. Like, I think my go-to is trying to find a connection. Like, with Pochita, the Chainsaw, the Gun Devil, why the Gun Devil's, like, things are popping up more recently. But it could be to try to take care of a threat, you know? And the potential of a threat.
And you see someone who should not have lived.
Yeah.
And maybe Makima is the one that also tells people and trains people to have a screw loose in order to fight devils. And she might have just seen this as the perfect opportunity. But also, I like to imagine that every single weapon devil all looks like Pochita, but with their weapon in their head instead. And that's how they're related to the Gun Devil.
That'd be nice.
That's like just like in my head, that's what I imagine. It's like every type of weapon you can think of.
I like it.
They look the same. It's like they're all like brothers.
Like
brothers
a family.
And sisters. Yeah, they're all family.
Or they're all animals too. Like, just like Pochita. Get really close. Do you think that Aki's head's on straight? You remember how we had the whole like conversation about screws loose, head on straight?
That's kind of what the debate, I feel like, for Himeno is in this episode, is we see her say that she thinks anyone that goes after the Gun Devil has a screw loose. But then we also hear her at the end saying that he's the same as all of those other people that she's lost, all those other partners. And even herself, she's told herself that she's too wound up tight. She's not, like, unscrewing all of her screws daily. So I feel like they need to latch on to someone like Denji.
I don't know. I can't tell if Aki is, like, it could easily be he's calculated. But I think there could be a little bit of crazy screw loose because, like, you have to be a little crazy to calculate your life to this degree and motivate your life to one mission at any cost. Like, and he's being so meticulous about it. When to use this sword that takes a toll on him, potentially takes his life, or like
that's
cuts
crazy.
his house. Yeah, that's
but
nuts.
Also he's willing to work with Chainsaw Man.
Yeah,
he's willing to work with Denji, live with Denji, and keep Denji alive for his goal. He's like, and Himeno was willing to sacrifice Denji and not let Aki use the sword because the screws are not loose there. I think it is, maybe, I think Aki is a little bit unhinged.
They said it that most of the hunters there, right, are hunters because of the Gun Devil. And I understand that people would be doing it with the same motive like as Aki. But Aki might have this different intensity of how far he is willing to go for this, you know?
Right. The one guy, the master, Himeno's master, brought up that all of these people, all of these devil hunters at the end of the day are still fearful of the devils. And I don't know how they're going to take Aki's character in how he would actually feel if standing in front of the Gun Devil.
Yeah.
I'm not, would he need a push forward? Would he need to see Denji in action in order to fight? Or would he be immediately ready to face him without fear? And I don't think that we could answer that question yet for his character.
That's a good question because like in my heart answer is he would act cool, be like, I'm going to take you down now and die. But with how calculated we've seen him and how much like, how serious he's taking the mission, I think that he puts actually killing the Gun Devil over being another person dead over killing it. And because of that, I could see him like being very strategic about when you should like avoid getting close if he so happened to, if he wasn't strong enough.
The most scared he seemed since we've met him and the most outward emotional we've seen him is not upon facing the terrifyingness of that Eternity Devil, but upon facing the fact that everyone was about to kill something that he viewed as important to him in his mission. And that means he's willing to do he was willing to put himself in front of a kitchen knife, a terrifying Kobeni with a kitchen knife, in order to protect. That shows some crazy.
Yeah.
Because I even said this to you, like, after watching that scene, I was like, Denji would have lived through being stabbed like that.
Yeah.
He loses blood like crazy fighting the devils.
If he got blood, you know, I think he would have been, but it's pretty confirmed he'd be fine. He gets strong
Aki
with
still jumped in front of him, and it was almost to make a point.
Yeah, or like don't touch.
Like, don't touch him.
He's under my watch.
With him. He's important to me.
Man, that fight and like the realization that they spent 3 days in there and this devil was begging for like just death. Mercy kill me. Like,
Mercy kill.
Denji was like, it's just like I'm swimming around, bro.
Sitting in a pool.
Yeah.
I'm having some fun.
He was like, I'm at Six Flags. Like, I don't know, man. That was nuts. It's so interesting to see Denji as a character because I don't understand him. I'm like, I can act like I do. I can say that I do, but I don't. And that's so refreshing because sometimes in anime, 7 episodes in, you understand, you can guess what the character's going to do or not.
You can guess what they're going to do. And I think that while Denji and while Power are both very simple, they are both impossible to predict.
I don't, do you think he's even going to do it? Like, do you want to do it at the end? I can convince myself that he would and he wouldn't.
That Aki would and wouldn't?
No, or that Denji would or wouldn't at the end of the episode. Is he going to go through with it?
Oh, okay.
Like, because on one hand, I can imagine him being like, I want to save my first time for Makima. But on the other hand, being like, Makima's not here. She won't know. I'm going to fucking do this right now, you know?
Oh, for like what he's going to do here at the end?
Yeah.
Okay, this is just a little prediction I'm going to put out there. I feel like either Aki or Makima are going to show up. And or Himeno's gonna stop. Or go to sleep. Or fall asleep. Couldn't you just see her falling asleep and start snoring, like, right now?
Oh, yeah. I totally could. But just the idea that I can't tell what Denji's decision would be just goes to show how little how unpredictable the character is in a refreshing way.
He's very driven.
Yeah.
By things.
We got a line that was pretty great, and I think that it could, like, if we just take it flat out, answer what, like, the reason that Denji's a target is that devils are afraid of what they can't understand.
Right.
And if this is the first time anything ever like this has happened, with Denji and Puchita, then of course they'd be terrified of it and try to kill it and run away and, you know, get it dead.
Right, and we've talked about before, is the gun devil working behind the scenes, or is someone using the gun devil for a certain desired effect?
Or is the gun devil like Denji? Like, in a similar sense?
I mean, would the gun devil be giving parts of its flesh to a bunch of devils that are coming to attack and try to kill Denji?
I don't know.
If it liked Denji?
No, if it liked Denji, if it was like Denji.
Oh, was like, I heard, sorry.
No worries. Sometimes it's hard to hear each other with, like, the delay. But no, I think that's a really interesting moment. The whole thought that Makima was leaving to go get reinforcements to come back because of the rise recently, I thought was an interesting bit that we might see down the road as a later plot point.
This little time skip that we had in this episode, I think I was cool with it. In the first like 5 seconds of it, I was like, wait, how do I feel about this, like, this transition that has happened here? But I think it felt kind of just like we zoomed out a little bit and then zoomed back in on the timeline. And I honestly, I don't know if you have it written down, but I definitely liked what we got from Arai's character in this episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did too. I didn't write too much of it down, like, because it was happening so fast, but I agree. Arai's character was awesome, and I love the fact that he was the one with Denji. I least expected that.
When the transition happened, we got told by Himeno that Kobeni and Arai were not only thinking of leaving because they were scared, but they felt bad.
Well, I think it goes to show, like, the human nature of it, right? And some people have their screws loose. I think the people who, in a way, who acted that extreme might be the ones who'd be classified as people with their screws in. Like your life or death situation, you can say how you'd act all you want, but once you're there, you don't know how you're going to act. And even though that you acted that way doesn't make you human, like, you'd be embarrassed about it or feel horrible about it.
Like, yes, to us, Kobeni seemed crazy and unhinged.
Yeah.
But not in the way that they're saying you need to be. Like, crazy and unhinged in the way that you don't just feed into your fear of the devil and your fear of being stuck there and go for what the devil's asking for. I don't think a crazy person, like an actually unhinged, screws loose person that they are saying you need to be in this show, would offer up exactly what the devil wants.
But again, like, it's these people who have the knowledge in their world that the devil can't lie to them, right? The devil they're up against, if they say, feed me Denji and I'll let you go, that's binding, you know? Like, if they tried to go back on that, the Eternity Devil, it would have died. There's consequence to breaking a contract in this show, you know? So, like, I don't even know how I'd feel if I was in the moment and, like, there. Because, like, that's a guaranteed save, right? Like,
yeah, but isn't that a non-screws loose thing to think?
Exactly, yeah. I really need to point out my favorite moment of the entire episode, which was the ghost hand reaching down and starting the chainsaw.
It up.
Yeah. Oh my god, it was amazing. It was so good. Himeno, I thought...
She was doing it as if, like, it's funny because it's obvious that it does whatever her hand does a little bit.
Yeah.
And it almost felt like she was, like, playing, like, is it Jenga that's, like, the bricks and you have to kind of try to, like...
Yeah. Like, be really,
take one out really carefully. And she was kind of, like, as if she was really trying to be, like, a surgeon to, like, get it.
So cool.
Like, she's at a claw machine
like a marionette,
or something.
or like I don't know.
Gruesome claw machine.
Playing Operation. Claw machine's a good one, though. That's literally picky, yeah.
I mean, a claw machine is also has the realistic disappointment of it never working out that she probably was facing, that, like, scary feeling.
She was blushing.
When you play a claw machine.
During that whole thing, she was blushing, and I was like, whoa, what's going on right now? That whole scene was so freaking cool. I definitely need to meet Fushi's Fiend at some point and see how...
Right.
my mind defaults to just crazy want to kill people. And it's like you just let like Tasmanian devil, like you just let it out of the box and it goes crazy.
So he said it's not as reasonable as Aki's fiend.
Yeah.
So this is all the 4th division, I think. I think I might have thought they were different division heads, but I think these were all the 4th division because of what Himeno and Aki were saying about trying, now that the 4th division is all together.
I think it makes more sense with the introductions going around with the rookies.
And they would all have their own partners and their own contracts. So I don't know, it's like not as reasonable as Power, but I also got the vibe that it doesn't maybe blend in as well as Power might.
Which makes me like excited to 1, see it, but 2, like it kind of implies that we're going to see more of just Denji and Power, right? Mm-hmm. If we're getting these two-person teams going out.
Right.
And that's a dynamic I love.
I do like
I think
Denji and Power.
Power might be a little like upset with Denji because he did say that he was going to be the one to get the Nobel Prize first or next.
But I don't think either of them got it by the end of the episode. So I'm sure they're both
Denji arguably got something better, but arguably.
He got a big piece. Yeah. Because we saw later on in the episode that they were even hunting after these tiny little slivers. Yeah. And I'm like, what? Do you have like a gold dust pan and you're like mining for gold and you're like okay with these tiny little slivers?
How cool is it that multiple characters that we know have a contract with the Fox Devil?
And she or I don't know the Fox Devil's pronouns, but the Fox Devil only presents their head in battle
for cute people,
for
cuties,
for cute guys.
I love
mainly.
I love it.
Sorry, Arai. Well, we don't even know. I feel like it was a slight there. I feel like them adding that little bit about how Aki, like with the head, like showing the fox's head, was a slight against Arai for a little bit. I feel like the timing there, I was like, oh, so Arai's not cute enough. Okay.
Some devils are just down bad. I love that. That was amazing. So like, last thing I want to touch on is I've never seen so much puke in anything. I don't do well with that stuff. I don't want to click back on it.
The sound of someone puking, I'm like...
I think... I can't tell if it helped me that it censored it or if it made it worse. I don't think but it's interesting because like they didn't just do it to do it in a really weird way. And like it happened narratively. And then it kind of made me sad because I thought that they might have gone in the direction with like Denji's not used to eating anything. He would even do this and like show me a memory of when he had to do this thing. But then they showed me a memory of him being like, oh, I'm never doing that.
I would never stoop so low as to
and he had to.
Puke.
Oh,
and
man.
I love that Power, as soon as it happened, was like, he's gonna swallow it. And I feel like everyone else in the room was like, no way. And she was like, he's gonna.
I just couldn't believe that happened. And the fact that I think the thing that made it the best thing in the world is how they brought it back in the outro and had like the rainbow. How is the best outro of 2022 going to have like half of it be puking? It's crazy. I don't know. That's all I have. You good?
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time. And I'm falling head over heels for it. And I'm falling head over heels for it. I'm falling head over heels for it.
I'm falling head over heels for it.